Hi everyone, welcome to Teaching Triumph. And in the last video, I shared with you the why behind my teaching. But in this video, I wanted to share with you the actual tangible steps that I took to enter the profession of teaching. So you would think doing all these things in high school, like switching roles with the teacher and then doing the peer leadership program and knowing that I want to be a teacher would lead me to graduate high school and enroll into some sort of grad school program for teaching or education. But that is not what I did. And part of it was intentional, and the other part of it was just circumstance. When I was in 10th grade, my family dynamic shifted and changed pretty dramatically. And without getting in too deep about that, let me just share that that meant that everyone at home had to work. So I started working at a fast food restaurant with my sister and my mom. And being a minor, I was not allowed to work 40 hours, but I could work 39. And that's exactly what I did. I stopped doing after school things like sports or clubs, and I went straight home to get ready and start my 3 o'clock shift that ended around 11 or 11:30. We had a half-hour lunch. I worked 5 days a week, and I ended the week with 38 to 39 hours, still under 40. And this continued all through high school and even after high school. I got another job, but the lifestyle kind of remained the same, where work and earning a living became far more practical and important than going through a traditional educational route after high school. And as a senior, I had still only been in the country for 4 years, but due to the financial and family situation I found myself in, there really wasn't an option to apply to big schools because I knew I couldn't afford them. And I have to say, there wasn't a lot of guidance at my high school. I went to a suburban high school where my experience was very different than what I observed to be happening in the schools where I teach, as in terms of high school coaching and career coaching, etc. I don't remember anyone talking to me about what college you want to go to. Can we help you if you don't have any guidance at home? What aspirations do you have? Like, any kind of college counseling just didn't happen for me. And when I look back, I think it's probably because in a lot of the suburbs, schools may not even have to really do that with the same kind of urgency that we sometimes have to do in communities that are traditionally more underserved. So I guess people at school just assume that if you're coming to that school, you're going to go to college and things will be fine. But it just happened to be in my particular case, I needed a lot of that guidance. Nobody in my family had gone to college in America, and things were very different. And there was no guidance at home either. So in my head, as a teenager, going to work, working full time all through high school, I just felt like I couldn't apply to a college that charges a lot of money. So I have to find another way to an education. Not getting an education was never on the cards. I never even imagined such a scenario. However, we did live in the part of town that was, you could say, a little less privileged than the more privileged part of town. We lived in a pretty shoddy apartment complex, but a lot of the kids were going to a community college, which was told to us as a much cheaper option and a good option. So that's exactly what I did. The only school I applied to with really good grades was the local community college because that's the one I could afford. And by that time, by the senior year, I started working at a different place with a higher wage and a scholarship program. So I applied to the scholarship at the job. I got some money from there. It was a small scholarship, but helpful nevertheless. I had applied for financial aid, which I got also. So putting all of this together, I was able to get through my community college with having to pay very little out of pocket. And I was so grateful for that. But the community college didn't have an education major. So I had to declare something. And I declared a business major, specifically accounting, which is just crazy because I'm just not that guy. I'm not math and numbers guy. It doesn't come naturally to me. I can learn it. I did well in math all throughout my education, but I don't enjoy it. But another reason why I felt comfortable doing it at that point is because we were told that the community college had a partnership with a local 4 year school and that it didn't really matter what major you picked. All of these credits will be foundational course credits that will transfer in almost their entirety to that 4 year school, which will allow you to continue your education in a 4 year school in a couple of years and finish all the coursework in the 2 years or so to graduate with a 4 year degree. So I thought I would do my 2 years at the community college, finish it, take all my credits, go to the 4 year school, declare the major there, and think about teaching and figure out teaching once I got there. So I did this, and along the journey, I changed jobs again and I got a better job. I worked in the mornings and I went to school at night. I worked in the mornings because I had to at the new job. I was working from 6:30 to 3:30 shift or a 5:30 to 3:30 shift. I don't remember, but it was a 9 hour thing with a 1 hour lunch. That's what I remember. So, and I know I ended at 3:30 because my first class would start around 4:30 and I'd be doing evening classes to like 9 or 9:30, getting home around 10, something like that. But with all of this, picking a major for teaching really was not a priority. I just wanted to get through things and find the time and opportunity later in life to figure out what I want to do. And I thought if I was financially more stable, I would have more choices as I went along. And when I got to my university for the final 2 years of my undergrad, I learned that you kind of have to get into teaching earlier. And it's a graduate level program. And one of the biggest reasons why I didn't commit to the graduate school commitment at that time was, again, the financial situation, because I learned that as a traditional route teaching program, there's about 6 months or so of student teaching, which is unpaid. And I just couldn't do that. There was no way I could do that. For my family, that just would have been an unbearable financial burden. And by that time, I had learned the value of hard work and earning money and surviving. And I just couldn't put that sort of burden on myself and my family. So I did not pursue teaching grad school at that time. I looked into it. I even took one course. It was like an intro to teaching kind of exploration course, which had like school visits built in. So I went to like some local schools around my house to go observe teaching, which was super cool. And I really, really enjoyed that. But I couldn't commit to the grad school because of the financials. So the next best thing was to major in English. And I know a lot of people would have thought that, oh, English, what a waste of a degree. And maybe for a lot of people it is. But I thought I would get a degree in English and I could probably find some place to teach English. And I had this idea of going abroad and teaching it. I even took a TESOL course to kind of like get into that. And when I earned my undergrad, some of the first jobs that I looked at were jobs in like Singapore, South Korea, Dubai, and these are places that were hiring at the time people who were fluent in English or had an English degree, because there was all these programs of teaching English to students in other countries. But then once again, the reality of life hit me, and I realized that a lot of those situations would work out to some extent financially for me, but they would require me to be away from my family. And once again, the situation at home was such that I had to be there. And by this point, I was the primary breadwinner at home. So a move like that just didn't make any sense. And that's when I think I felt the most hopeless. I felt like my dreams are not possible to accomplish. They're not practical for me. There's something I want, but there's these obligations and things that I have to prioritize over my dreams, and I just can't pursue it. And I think there was a bit of depression there in that stage of my life. And I was working at this point at a financial organization and insurance, a big giant insurance company that a friend was very generous of getting me a job in. And it was a really big pay bump also. So I had to take it with my business and English degree. But those 2 years were kind of really just sitting at a desk doing work and just getting used to corporate life. And there was a lot of good about that too, to be fair. I think corporate life does not get a lot of credit. One, for me, it was a life of luxury compared to teaching. Copy paper never ran out. Pens and pencils never ran out. Coffee never ran out. Like it was such a luxurious life. And I really enjoyed that part of it as a young person, having my own cubicle and multiple computer screens and just sitting there on my rolly chair. And I thought I made it. I really thought, this in some ways, this is what it is. This is what it's meant to be. And that's where I'm meant to be. So, and I made a lot of friends there, and we would take breaks together. We'd email each other at break time, and we'd all meet up in the parking lot just to hang out. Some guys would smoke and stuff. And it was just a fun time. However, inside, it wasn't at all replenishing or feeding my creative energy. And still, I was a bit of an idealist. I had this idea of just like serving and doing something that involved service. So I was just never satisfied there. From the very beginning, I knew it was going to be a temporary thing. It was just a next stepping stone to wherever I'm trying to go. But I was feeling hopeless because I didn't know how long it would take. And especially realizing that I couldn't really go abroad really felt like I was trapped in a way in a situation that I wish was different. And on one such day of just feeling down and a little bit resentful, I started looking up online using company time to do a Google search on the computer about like path to teaching or different pathways to teaching. I just searched this term, and up came a couple of alternate route programs, and I had no idea these existed, and I couldn't believe no one ever told me. I had talked to counselors, I had, at college anyway, but no one mentioned this option or these options. But now my eyes were like wide open, and I'm like all about these options and exploring them and trying to learn more about them. So, two big options that came up were Teach for America and the New York City Teaching Fellows. It was kind of late in the school year. So, I'm thinking it was like right before the summer, like late spring. And for some reason, the Teach for America option just felt like, oh, you had to be in college and they recruit you from college. The way I understood it, I just felt like I don't think I fall into that. And I don't think I can get in through that program. But I was going to apply anyway, but there was this deadline that I didn't think I could meet, or there was a deadline that had already passed. So Teach for America, even though I was like, this is a good option, I set it aside. And then I turned to the New York City Teaching Fellows. And the New York City Teaching Fellows is the reason why I'm here. And there was this interview, and there was this like 5 minute demo lesson. They get, they ask you for a 5 minute demo lesson, and I think I don't know, I think I taught some kind of phonics. I don't know what I did. It was just ridiculous. I got accepted into the program, found out about it. I don't remember a lot of the details at this point, but I'm sure if I went into my emails, I would like pull everything out. But they picked the subject matter for you. So like I had a degree in English, and my thing was I want to teach English or ELA, but that's not what I got picked for. I got picked for special education. They gave you the subject that they felt you should teach. I got picked for special education. I wonder how much that had to do with the person who interviewed me, and how much that had to do with the fact that special education and STEM subjects were like these high need, hard to staff areas, and they still continue to be. So I think they were just taking more people and putting them in those buckets than giving them a particular subject area. And maybe my background didn't convince them that I should be teaching English or whatever. I don't know, but these are thoughts that were in my head at the time. And one of the earlier lessons in life I learned was that really try hard not to turn down an opportunity. When an opportunity knocks on your door, think real hard before saying no. And most of the time you should take the opportunity. That had been my experience at the time with jobs, and I was kind of applying the same mindset to this. I had learned the whole adage about get your foot in the door. Like that's what I live by. I started McDonald's 5.15 an hour. Got my foot in the door. Like that's what it was. It's always a foot in the door, and then you work hard and you do your best and you prove yourself and you move up. And that's what I did in every job that I had up to that point. And that's how this felt too. I felt like get my foot in the door. This is an opportunity. I'm taking it. Special ed, I'm going to teach it. Let's go. So a little bit about how the fellowship worked. It was a free master's degree. As long as you became a teacher, you finished it, and you continued teaching after for 2 years or something like that. You didn't have to pay anything back. But if you quit early, then you have to pay the degree back or something like that. For me, it was just like onwards. We got into this program. Now we're going to take this opportunity, become a teacher. And I got a master in the science of education. But this was the crazy part. You had to be teaching while you're going to grad school. And I just remember how hard it was. It was so hard to keep up with everything. And then we had the summer to also do student teaching, which was teaching at a summer school where a summer school teacher was teaching. And summer school is only like 4 to 5 weeks, 4 days a week. And depending on who the teacher was there, they would or would not let you teach. It was weird. I just remember teaching one lesson on gentrification to these high school students. That was the totality of my teaching experience. And then I was supposed to, in the month of August, get a job, find a job in a school, and I was going to start teaching in September. And, the little you know sometimes is a blessing. I didn't know what was about to hit me, what was about to come. And I'm glad I didn't, because I was just like kind of nonchalant and cool about it. I was like, oh, I'm just job hunting right now as I go through it. But the good thing about this was there was a stipend that was paid to you also. So it wasn't like me not having any pay for the 2 summer months. So that was great. So I went to a couple of places. One school told me, we really like you, but we need somebody with special ed experience, which you don't have. They were pretty honest about it, but they turned me down. And then I went to the school where I got my first job. And my first teaching job was teaching special education and teaching math. You can't make this up. I got a job teaching math. Sometimes life just throws stuff at you. So, again, that mentality of foot in the door, that's what I was thinking. And God guided me, whatever. I'm a spiritual person, so I attribute a lot to the Almighty. And I took the job. I took the job. And guess what? It doesn't end there. I took the job, and I'm not even going to talk about my first day of teaching, which was a disaster. Disaster in the sense that I had a really hard time with classroom management on day one. I was teaching self-contained special education class, math, and I didn't have a math background. But I was teaching at a middle school, so the math wasn't that hard, to be fair. It's just that I had not paid any attention or any mind, or I had not spent any time thinking about teaching math. My whole life, I thought I was going to be teaching English. Here I was teaching math. But the twist came when on day two, the ELA teacher quit in this school. All right. Now the school had its issues. Okay. It wasn't a very easy place. It was tough. It was underserved, Title I school, high level of poverty. But that's where I ended up, and I was grateful. So when this person quit, my principal, whom I respect so much to this day and love and admire as a leader, she came to me and told me, I remember from the interview, you said you wanted to teach ELA, and the ELA position has just opened up. Would you be interested? Before I offer it to someone else. And I was like, wow, yes. Yes, get me out of this math class and put me in ELA, social studies, or something like that I can actually teach. And that's what happened on day two. Starting on day three, I was now an ELA teacher. You can't make this stuff up. You can't. And I was just so grateful. Like, I think God was maybe just testing me to see if he's the real deal, if he's gonna commit, if he's really gonna go through this. He put me through those tough first couple of days, and he was like, all right, cool, you're in it for a long run. So let me give you this opportunity. And I got that opportunity, and I was so grateful. And that changed everything. And ever since then, that's all I've taught, ELA and social studies. At that school, the ELA program was a hybrid program. It was called the humanities, where ELA and social studies were a double period, but they were taught as a single subject. At that school, the team of teachers who was teaching humanities, they were rock stars, like really good teachers. And I got a chance to be in the room with them. And that's where I learned all of my teaching. I feel like to this day, a lot of what I do, what I learn, how I think about teaching curriculum and reading and writing and social studies and history was massively just shaped by those people. I'm incredibly indebted to them and super grateful. And in the next video, we can start talking about some teaching. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.